Like every other historical event that we study, the Spanish Civil War didn't happen in a vacuum. Welcome to our Spanish Civil War series. This is context you need to know to understand the Spanish Civil War. And after this video, I'm going to post a video about why you should be understanding the Civil War right now. Spanish Civil War. My name's Amy. I usually make U.S. history content, but I am in Spain, so I'm making Spanish Civil War content. It's prescient, and you should get involved. I'll put a comment with my book list in the first comment, and you can also follow me on YouTube and Substack and Patreon. There's exclusive content there, and then over at my podcast, The Foolish Optimist. So let's get into it. We're going back to the 1870s, and you might say this is too much context, but I'm going to say you're wrong. 2 years before 1870, there's a revolution in Spain that changes the absolute monarchy to a constitutional monarchy, which culminates in 1870. The monarch that is ousted is Queen Isabella II. She was never supposed to be queen. Nope. And this is going to cause problems for decades to come, right? Her father changes the law because her brother died, and he didn't want his monarchy in the hands of his brother. His brother's name is Don Carlos Maria Isidora Benito de Bourbon, and he will lead the Carlists in a decade-long war against Queen Isabella and her supporters, and even her sons. Her son nips it in the bud in 1876. But from 1833 to 1876, Don Carlos and his followers will wage war against Isabella. Now, again, she's the first queen, true queen, right? Not just a queen who's helping her child or her husband. She's going to use the military to keep her propped up. She is going to have extramarital affairs. We don't know whose kids whose. She's flirting. People don't like her. She's ousted. So the provisional government creates a constitution, and by 1870, they elect Amadeo I. Amadeo is not a Bourbon. He is a Savoy from Italy. He's not even Spanish. Ooh. So there's people in Parliament who are like pushing for Alfonso, Queen Isabella II's son, to come back and rule. We've got the Carlist War. We've got the 10 Years' War. We've got Spanish empirical holdings, colonies like Puerto Rico and Cuba, starting to grumble. They're getting squirrely. They're like, why do we report to somebody thousands of miles away? They're getting uncomfortable. And Amadeo's like, the heat's too hot. I'm going to go. This is when the First Spanish Republic begins. This is 1873. For 23 months, there's a constitutional republic. The people who created the Constitution, they elect an executive branch. It ends in a military coup. It's not very successful, but the military coup brings Alfonso into power. This is Alfonso the 12th. Now, there's a Carlist rebellion as soon as he gets into power, and he's like, shut the fuck up. You're wrong. My grandfather, the King of Spain, said that my mother would be the queen. He shuts that down. Finally, the Carlists are out of the picture. He rules for about 10 years, and then he dies. Before he dies, he does impregnate his wife, and Alfonso the 13th becomes king the day he is born. It is said he was given to the prime minister on a silver platter, like, He doesn't actually take power until 1902, which means he does miss the hubbub of the Spanish-American War, which is next. Now, the Spanish-American War is in 1898, and this decimates the Spanish Empire. They lose Puerto Rico, they lose Guam, they lose Cuba, they also lose the Philippines. Not only do they lose these colonies and the money that comes in with these colonies, they also have to pay the Americans $20 million. Yeesh. They're decimated, they're pissed. They call it le désastre. Their confidence is shot. They used to be a big world player. They're nothing now. Again, Alfonso XIII takes power in 1902, and in the early 1900s, they're trying to expand their empire again, so they go to Morocco and they try to take over Morocco. This leads to a couple of different wars. They call them the Rif Wars. This is also leading to a time period where the left and the right are very much separating. The space between them is getting further and further apart. They're still poor, they're still embarrassed, they're still licking their wounds from 1898 when World War I starts. They are not a combatant in World War I. So what happens is they start to sell arms to everyone, and selling arms during war is big money. Big money. So they're gaining a little confidence, they're getting some money, but inflation's on the rise. Wealth disparity is getting bigger and bigger. Right? Some people are making a lot of money. Most people are not making a lot of money. This causes the teens, like 17 to like the 20s-ish, to be chaos, turmoil. There is mutinies in the military. There's left versus right, tiffs and small skirmishes hitting everywhere. Also, the Spanish flu happens in 1918. The Spanish flu that kills 17 to 50 million people worldwide, but really decimates Spain in the early 1918 wave of it. So inequality is getting even bigger, and it's on display because hundreds of thousands of Spaniards are dying, and the wealthy are living and the poor are dying, as happens with almost every single healthcare crisis in the world. There's so many issues. And then in 1921, they have another Rif War in Morocco, and they get their asses handed to them handily. Embarrassed yet again, in 1923, a military dictatorship takes over with Miguel Primo de Rivera. This will last for about 6 or 7 years. It is not a super violent dictatorship. It's just corrupt as fuck, and nobody's getting anything done. It originally has the backing of Alfonso XIII because like there was so much corruption in the parliament at the time. And then that falls apart because he's like, ew, you're worse. And by 1931, the Second Republic of Spain is born. This is a picture that I found from Wikipedia, but it was taken in Barcelona in 1931 by Josep Maria Segarra. People are cheering in the streets. People are so excited. But there's trouble in paradise. And this is where our second Spanish Civil War episode is going to take up. There is a lot to learn from the Spanish Civil War. There's a lot to learn around the history to the context of the Spanish Civil War, and that will be our next little video, why this information is important. Follow along. I hope you'll enjoy this. We will see some of the sites that I talk about during this series.